Morning traders, welcome back to the Tier 1 Trading New York live trading room. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope you're ready for another week in the markets, another wacky week in the markets, I should say. Welcome for you guys watching on the live stream as well. We should be on Tradingview and YouTube. Thing says calls were so good the other day. Figured I'd give you some applause. Thank you. Yeah, been a pretty decent run at predicting the markets, and it's been interesting because it always goes back. I've been talking to a lot of traders around the industry. Apparently, I'm like the old guy now, right? It's funny, like Akil, I want to ask you a question since you have all this experience, and I still think of myself as young in my head, but apparently I'm not. And we were talking about just kind of the wackiness that has been happening around the markets, and it really is wacky, right? So obviously we are very fundamentally driven. Would you guys agree that every single major news event is causing the market to go into a ruckus and go crazy? And it's interesting because we're very fundamentally driven, but we're not really doing anything in the market, right? We are fundamentally driven, and we see a 200 pip spike one way, and then the next news event comes out and we see a 200 pip spike back the other way. Then we see Fed chair come out and say stuff, and we spike 100 pips one way. Then the market has a chance to really relax and recover over the weekend. There's some ECB news, and the market retraces everything it did. And we end up having these moves that ultimately end up going right back to where they were before. And this has been the trend. I remember Dr. Brett Steenbarger said this, right? He said, all market conditions are different. There are going to be unprecedented times, but the difference between a skilled trader and a trader who maybe is just kind of trading like a strategy, like a something they bought on the internet, something like that, is the skilled traders will adjust to the market. We will figure out. It may take us some time, but we will figure out what the market is doing, and we'll be able to capitalize on it. And when you think about kind of the movement that the market has had, this up, down, retrace nature, right? Where price has been going kind of like, oh, we spike down and then we give a little bit of relief and then we go down, but no one's interested in selling anymore. And then we go back up. We have been creating a massive amount of advanced pattern formations. And for today's trade of the day, because usually for the live streamers, I break down one opportunity and then kick them out the room, and then we go on with our business here in the regular live room. Today, we're going to look at a handful of opportunities because there's about, you guys on the platform should have saw it on the chat this morning, there's about, 5 different pattern formations forming, right? Even here on Dollar Canada, if you remember, this is one that we had looked at, last week, where we got back-to-back patterns on this bad boy, right? If you guys remember this right here on Dollar Canada, we had X to A to B, B to C, C to D. We came down here for our Gartley. Gartley ran well. Does anyone know what it turned into afterwards directly? Maybe you caught it. Maybe you just see it in front of you. Yeah. We turned right into a cipher, right? So back-to-back pattern wins here on Dollar Canada. And again, if we just take a little trip around the market, if I can remember what we had this morning, I don't have my watch list in front of me. Put it on a different screen, which I closed up with the live stream. But we've got potential advanced pattern formations here on Aussie dollar, right? Same thing. This is going to be a bat. Most of these are going to be, all these are going to be bats, if I remember correctly. X to A to B, B to C, C to D right here. Again, our massive movement down, then a little bit of a multi-leg recovery here on Aussie dollar. Aussie dollar has had a twin as of lately. Its name is the New Zealand dollar, right? Once again, you can see the same thing here on the Kiwi. X to A to B, B to C, C to D, up here somewhere, a little bit higher than that, just drawing them on roughly. We go over to Aussie Canada. What do you guys see? Look familiar? Once again, X to A to B, B to C, C to D. There's a few more out there as well. There's New Zealand, Canada. I think there's Pound Swiss. Some of them already completed. Pound Swiss already completed. Yep. So Pound Swiss is done. But you can see the bad boy. Same thing inside here on Pound Swiss. I think New Zealand, Canada was the last one that was on the radar. I don't even know where my New Zealand, Canada is. We'll just type it in. ECAD. I'm not sure if that one completed or is still going. Same thing here. Oop. X to A. Sorry. Try it again. Phew. Doesn't like me. Why don't you like me? X to A to B, B to C, and then C to D. This one, I think, just completed as well. This is going to be a short. No, we're gonna do some day trading opportunities, or see. There's not a lot that interests me intraday, so I want to get these patterns out the way because this was on the radar. We're going to drop down to lower time frames. Canada yen actually has a continuation trade I'm interested on. So, well, it's still maybe a short day. We'll see, but we'll go down to the day trading time frame. Probably hit the range bar charts and see if there's any small moves that we can capture. But I wanted to give an example because I know you guys see this all the time, but people out there watching the live stream, you don't really see the frequency of pattern formations. And we were talking about yesterday. If you guys didn't see the Q&A yesterday, make sure you check it out. It's titled Scheduling Your Successful Trading Journey. And essentially it was a question from a trader who said, hey, I put away money for 2 years. I'm giving myself 2 years to learn how to trade and become a successful trader. Can you help me map out a plan? Do you think it's realistic? So we got a bunch of the traders together yesterday and we walked through basically a 2-year plan of what the trader should be doing. Obviously the time is going to be, you never know if it's going to be exactly this time, a little bit longer, a little bit shorter. But the point was we laid out a process for what that trader should do. And it was interesting. During the talk, one of our traders, Tony, came on and said or I think it was Tony. He said, usually the first strategy you fall in love with is the one you ultimately end up going with. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you go with it right away. You can go with it right away, then ditch it and then try some other things, but you ultimately come back to it. And I think there's some truth in that. But on the subject of strategy, right? I do think it's important that you diversify, right? This was a lesson that I was taught when I first got into investing before I was a trader, where, hey, what's wrong with having some ETFs? What's wrong with investing in some indices? What's wrong with loading up on some blue chippers, right? It's good to have kind of that slow, steady, boring, dependable thing in your arsenal, because that's going to allow you to take more risk with whatever else you're doing, whether you're looking for penny stocks or you're doing crypto or whatever it may be. And I look at pattern formations for me in my career as being that slow, steady, dependable thing, right? It's kind of like that, for you soccer fans out there, it's like that defender that doesn't really do much. They're kind of old, they're not really fast, but they're wise and they're always in the right place at the right time. It's like that guy, if you're an NBA fan, the player that doesn't really score much, but like gives you that rebound whenever you need them, and they can play good defense. That old, wise vet, right? It's like that running back, Frank Gore. If you guys are football fans, there's this running back, Frank Gore. He came from the University of Miami. He played in the NFL for, I think he played till he's like 40. And he's running back. Frank Gore, for his entire career, averaged like 4 yards per carry. Like he would never give you anything more, and he'd never give you anything less. And 4 yards per carry, the NFL, right? That's going to get you first downs, but he was that old, dependable. He'll never break out a big run. He'll never give you a long touchdown run. He'll never really catch the ball and do anything. But when you need 4 yards, you give him the ball, he'll get you 4 yards. And I look at advanced patterns as being that because the win percentages aren't very high. They're going to range anywhere between like 55 and probably your max at 70. And that's with the cipher. But the thing with the cipher is the risk reward is inverse most of the time, depending on the time frames you're trading. So that's going to balance out that 70%. But you're typically looking between 65 and 50% win rate. You're typically looking for a risk reward that isn't super appealing, right? You may get a 1.5 to 1 with a bat pattern. Gartley's are usually going to get 1 to 1 unless it's a deep one, but you're going to average only 1 point something to 1 risk reward. But they're dependable. They're dependable and they provide frequency. And when I look at my trading results over the years, whether I'm day trading or just swing trading, pattern formations, because of the frequency in which they appear, and they appear during these choppy markets when nothing else seems to exist, they make up about 70% of my trading opportunities. So I've got this slow, steady, unimpressive car that can get me from A to B that's making up 70%. And then the 30% is the other stuff I do. And that's been a strategy that has worked very, very well for me because it balances things out. It balances things out. It allows me to be risky in certain cases because I know I've got old reliable, slowly raking in the money on the back end. But more importantly, it allows me to take advantage of different market conditions. And I think that's key, especially in times like this where it's really hard to be a trend follower right now. Because again, we're getting moves, but we're not getting moves at the places you would expect moves at. It's hard to be a structure trader right now because we're going to structure and then we're breaking out on a news event and then whipsawing back in only to break out later, but have your original reason be invalidated. In times like this, patterns have been very good. There's still been losses. Don't get me wrong. If you were with me, 2 weeks ago, I had like 4 straight losses on patterns. If you guys remember that, there's still going to be losers, and they're not hitting at 100%. No, but they're there. They're providing opportunity, and they do have an edge. James said it's the glue that holds the team or the trading plan together. It really is. It really is. And personally, in my career, it was the thing that first gave me guidance. I told you I was a wild boy. I was a wild, wild boy when I first started trading, man, just slinging it everywhere, shooting from the hip. And I went to patterns. I loved price action first, and I ultimately went back to price action, making Tony's point. But I love patterns because it took, aside from being able to properly evaluate an X to A leg, which is easier said than done, it took all of the guesswork out of it. Like there was not much left to interpretation, which means there was not much left for me to think. And again, at the time, me thinking was a very bad thing because I would just think myself into things I wanted to get into and think myself out of things I wanted to be out of. So it cut down on my psychological mistakes massively because it gave me a really tight cage to work through. And then I eventually evolved from there. Real quick, got a few questions on the YouTube before I let you guys go. Hit the like button if you haven't already. A lot of you guys watching, not a lot of likes. Smash it. Heard about the ABC players, accurate, boring, and consistent. I like that. I had a buddy of mine in the NBA, 20-year career as an ABC player. Life is set. Never did anything special, but got like 3 championship rings too. Just kept going from team to team because they needed that player. He fit a certain mold and they needed him. They said, hey, you're big, you can grab rebounds, and you can play defense. And they kept trading him from he was that missing piece on a lot of championship teams. Played with the San Antonio Spurs. Back up to Tim Duncan. Akil, on patterns, do you think it's good to trade advanced patterns on different time frames like 1 hour and 4 hour, or just stick with one time frame? I think it's fine to trade it on both. Yeah. As always, it needs to be a part of your plan. So I don't think it's good to jump to any time frame and try to trade any pattern formation. But in general, you want to have your trading time frames defined no matter what strategy you're looking at. So prior to trading, you need to have defined what time frames am I looking for what time frames am I allowed to trade on. And you can trade on those, yeah. but you can't just jump around. So you can't just be like, I'm going to go to the 30-minute today and search and hunt. Or I guess you can, but you're going to have issues with consistency. Aussie Canada. Yep. Looked at that earlier as well. Again, we named a bunch of them. There's about 6 in the market right now. There was New Zealand, Canada, Aussie, Canada, New Zealand dollar, Aussie dollars, a few Swiss ones out there as well that already completed. But yeah, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of them. So good stuff. A little bit different today for the live stream. More of a kind of a lesson and discussion. Did show you guys a few trading opportunities for you pattern people out there. Do me a favor on your way out, hit that like button. As always, if you want to be involved in the full live room, head over to www.tier1trading.com. Check out that 14-day trial. Get on the platform. Introduce yourself to our traders. We have a great group that is focused on helping you improve. So use them. Don't be shy. I will see you guys tomorrow. We got more news coming out, but we'll worry about that tomorrow. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Live room members, we're going to head over to Canada yen first. That's the main opportunity that was on my radar, unless there's something else you want to take a look at. So if there's some place else you want to go first, let me know. If not, we're going to go to Canada yen.